Welcome to Historical Landmarks of Southampton Football Club, Episode 6. Today we stood outside what was the Fitzhugh Pub, which is a goal kick from the Dell, as we can see further down Milton Road there. The Fitzhugh played a big part in the life of Southampton Football Club once they moved to the Dell. It became the watering hole of choice for Saints supporters for many years. It had a couple of names over the years. It was originally the Fitzhugh. It became the corner post and had a sign of Kevin Keegan outside it in the early 80s. And then in the 90s again it reverted back to the Fitzhugh and was a very much loved pub up to the moment when Saints left the Dell. Now it's got its name of the Fitz, which was the last name used by the pub before it shut down, which sadly now it's converted to flats, and a historical landmark in the history of the club has been lost. Clive, you must have many memories of the Fitzhugh and the corner post.
Yeah, of course. I think we owe a debt of gratitude to the corner post as it was when we used it, because when the ugly inside started, we obviously needed places to sell around the ground, and the landlord, Richie Pearce, was a massive help to us, and he would actually keep copies behind the bar. He would sell them in the bar, and he did everything he could to help us, which it was a great place, because you could see the ground is just down there. People would walk this way from town and through the little cutways, and it would be a great place to sell the ugly inside. So from our point of view, it was very, very important, and of course it was used by many groups of supporters. And quite often the London Saints would congregate in here, and they would use it as like an organising point to plan their next travel for the next away game. So, you know, a little bit of a social club, if you like. It
all struck me, I mean, it was very much a backstreet boozer, as they say. It reminded me very much of the north, although we're in the south. But you look at the streets, it's all terraced houses, there's back alleys. You know, if you looked at it from the air, this could almost be Manchester or Liverpool in the layout of the streets. And for me, the Fitzhugh was a pub in the traditional sense of the word, which you don't have in Southampton anymore. Most of them have been closed down for, convenience stores, and in this case have converted into flats, and that's sadly the case today.
And it had the feeling of someone's living room, didn't it? In that bar particularly, there was two bars. There was like a public bar on this side, and then the lounge at the back there, and the lounge was very much like your living room. The only difference was the washing up was done. They converted it into one bar in the last few years of the pub. But it still had, as you say, that backstreet feel to it. It didn't feel like the modern day Alcopop pub, did it? It's a place. No, it was very traditional, very traditional. Cheese and onion, baps, that sort of thing after the game for, I think it might have even been 60p. That'll show you back in the day. But and I love pub because I think that the landlord and the landlady put a lot of effort in, and of course when the Dell went, unfortunately, it was their major trade. It was their major trade. Match days they did particularly well. So, they put an awful lot of effort in now over the years.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, as you say, after a game on a day like this, in the end of the season or the start of the season when it was sunny, all of this road would be, crowded with people drinking. None of the health and safety of today. You can't take a glass on the street. People would be stood out here having a drink. Behind me, we have a famous post box. Clive, tell me a little bit more about that.
It became famous on the very, very last day, the last competitive game at the Dell, of course, when Matthew Letizia scored that wonderful goal to beat Arsenal 3-2 on what was an incredible send-off for the old goal. And one of our well-known London Saints supporters, who for many years travelled on my coach to away games, Mike Stanley, made his finest stand on that red pillar box.
And what was Mike famous for? I'm not going to ask you to repeat it here, but just to tell me what he was famous for on that pillar box.
On that pillar box he was famous for the start of the When the Saints Go Marching In, which is knock knock.
Who's there?
Owen.
Owen who?
Oh, when the Saints. At the right speed, I may add.
Yeah.
At the right speed.
And in the right key.
Which, we all have trouble with that. But no, Mike was well known, and this was on this particular day. I don't know where he got it from, but it was like the longest ever knock knock you've heard in your life. Nobody could remotely produce it. If Mike, if you're watching, I'd love you to have a go on camera. But yeah, it was one of those moments, and the whole street, literally the whole street, sung in unison with him. It was Mike's moment.
Yeah, it was Mike's moment. It's a very special day, you know, because everyone was stood out here, and you know, it was, you know, the end of an era, the end of over 100 years of playing at the Dell down the road there, and this was a special place. And sadly, you know, as good as St Mary's is, it hasn't got a pub like this that has really replaced it over the years.